Welcome to the final episode of Series 77, everyone. This series, we welcomed Mike from Living Metal Games to talk about their new game, Crucible of Aether, a mystical industrial TTRPG. In today's episode, we finished our discussion series and get to some fanfic that we truly knocked out of the park. But before we get to that, here's what to expect in our calls to action. You can join me here after the show to hear about a deal we are running for 20% off on our Patreon for the first month using code C3THANKS. That's all one word and the number 3. It's going from now until December 8th in the spirit of Thanksgiving. We'll also have one last bit of information about the Crucible of Aether Kickstarter, a quick update about our Patreon, and then our normal patron thank yous and other information on how you can best support the show. With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show, everyone. On the last episode of Character Creation Cast, we learned a bit more about Mike before diving into some great discussion about the character sheets and how the game stacks up to other games, including a great discussion about crunch in games, as well as how many times stories in this game result in worker revolutions. We're picking up right where we left off last time. Enjoy. Now, one of my favorite questions when we have designers and whatnot on the show is, what do you think is one of the biggest flaws of character creation in this system? And what is one of your favorite parts?
So I think one of the flaws might be sort of, as much as I said I liked it earlier, the ways that the choices factor into who the character finally is, that everybody who has the raised by factory workers background is going to have similar skill totals. And there's a little bit of a tension there between telling somebody who has an individual story and who has that background that mechanically makes them stand out from somebody else who has that background, another character who has that background. And we've talked internally about ways to, ameliorate that, whether that's, you have more skill ranks to choose from, you have different equipment to choose from. But that's also kind of one of the things that we want feedback about our character creation beta is how much, how do you like the choices that you have right now? What other choices might you prefer to have? And do you feel like you're able to create a character who feels unique, who feels like they have a story to tell, without bogging people down with choosing, 40 different skill ranks or a point buy on the skill ranks or something like that, which the system absolutely could support, but that would just be begging for analysis paralysis from somebody trying to make a character.
Yeah. Now I noticed, like, when Ryan did his, was it your career or something that you have was like +2 additional skills?
That
or
was
something like that?
That was my background, the raised by tradesman. So like it let you choose 2 of the skills from the labor category outside of cooking and taming that you get your good skill percentage in. And I thought that was really interesting. Like,
and then you could definitely go through and pick based on too, like, where did you put your attributes? Like, what numbers did you put in which attributes and stuff too? Because I know, like, I didn't have any of those, like, extra sort of pick yours kind of things in mind.
That sort of thing is varied by background, and it's been a case-by-case basis for us to decide, okay, we feel like this one should have choices between these things. And it's again, a question that we're actively going back and forth on about how much more of those sort of choices to give people when we also don't want to bog people down in character creation, because we think we made a good game and we want people to play the game.
Get to the point where you actually get to sit down and do it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to what extent choosing between 5 or 10 of a particular skill rank is going to matter once dice hit the table and people start ranking things up. And your characters really start to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do feel like at this point, at least with like what I made, because again, like I said, I didn't have those, separate choices the way Ryan did. But I also think, when I picked that like barber surgeon thing, it's like, well, like if you went to medical school, you would learn medicine, right? Like those would be the things that like it would be a pretty standard education that way, right? So like that makes sense that I don't have a lot outside of that, because it's like, well, they're not going to also teach you cooking unless you were like really low on gen eds or something. I don't know. So like I feel like for mine it made sense because it's like I think it was an apprenticeship. Is that what it was labeled as? So it would make sense that it would have sort of a standard curriculum, I guess, that you would get those same kind of skills. And then, depending on what you're doing, be different. And then, but like I said, I think characters would still come out differently too, depending on what kind of stat array did you pick. What sort of character type did you pick, and like where did that put your star skills and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
That I think there are enough different pieces. Like if somebody went down the line and picked the exact same thing as you every step of the way, you'd end up with the same character. But I think that there are multiple steps, the likelihood of that gets lower and lower.
Right. Yeah. And then those traits thrown in really adds an extra level of depth to your character, because like, especially the fact that they're optional. And you can do both mental and physical traits if you want, or one or the other, or none. That really helps kind of balance out a character personality-wise as well.
Well, and I also think when we go back to that whole like, difficulties based on role-playing and things like that, like I am the kind of person that I, again, could make a fighter and everything, but I would still be Amelia at the table. And so would still be trying to talk my way out of things. Now, did I build stats that made that a good choice for me? Maybe not. So then you still also have the player going forward, making their choices as a player, how to play that character. And I think even if you went through and picked all of the same things and then sat those two people down at a table, in a few sessions, they would look different.
Oh, yeah. And the dice tell a story too.
Right. Yeah.
And your successes and failures are going to shape your character as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what is your favorite part?
I think my favorite part might be, it's a very specific thing. It's the interplay of origin, home nation, and background choices. Because we wanted to tell a very particular story about this setting, which is talking about availability of resources, availability and access to power, that I think we've gotten across here that sort of grounds people in the world and grounds people into thinking about what is where in the world and what they're moving towards in the world, or maybe restricted from in the world.
Well, yeah, because I think when we got to those backgrounds, there were certain things that you couldn't take if you were from a certain place. That you could only get access to this nobility if you were this kind of person from this kind of place. And so that certainly does, like, I think right at the beginning, demonstrate that there are going to be some kind of class and, societal issues there. That, like, you can't be nobility because you didn't make the right choices in where you were born. Like, too bad, idiot.
Didn't get born with a silver spoon in your mouth? Too bad, can't have the silver spoon.
Your fault. Which, I think is always interesting when, like the mechanics, even as you're making those very early choices, sort of illustrate some of that stuff, that it's like, oh, certain things are closed off to you. It's like, oh, that's going to be a theme here.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting.
And also trying to figure out the way to get that matrix of choices across to the player in creating a character has been a lot of iteration on the back end for us, to try and talk through and represent it visually, represent it in terms of rule text and flavor text in a way that helps get it across with the least amount of mental load.
Yeah. I will say, I think your little like matrix chart, like 1-page thing was like, okay, if I cross this, like background and where I'm from, and so like it says all, okay, I can take that one. That's great. Anybody can have that. That's great.
Yeah. It gets a little bit more complicated when you're looking at 16 nations in the full game, and I believe it's like 45 backgrounds.
Wow.
Okay, so then we're starting to get down to that size 10 font situation. Where
yeah, exactly. So we're off Mike, we were talking about like the choices that people are forced to make as they're translating a game into an actual physical rule book. And it's like, there's only so much space on a page. If you want to tell a story in a certain number of pages, you got to make choices, whether it's readability, talking about a small size font, or killing your darlings of what's actually in the text. But yeah, the full game has a whole lot more than is in even this beta. And there's a couple dozen more careers. There's 63 in the full game, 45 or so backgrounds. All the traits that are in the game are in there. And then another 6 nations that we haven't touched on here. And it's just, there is a whole huge world that we've made that we really are excited to have people explore through character creation. Because that's part of it is you're physically making someone in the world who has a place they're born, how they were raised, things like that.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in like sort of not repeatability, it's not the right word, but like like if I sat down and played this character like in a one shot and then I went back to make another character, like what those choices would look like for me as someone who's like, now I'm more familiar with what the world looks like, with what like what the impacts of the choices that I've made here, what and feedback from people about those kinds of things, like, hey, I tried this and then I tried this other thing, and because I said we're going into it blind, and it is harder sometimes with those games that have like a very established world and lore and things, when we don't know the whole the full impacts of the choices I've made necessarily.
Yeah
absolutely. But it's really cool if you're playing a full campaign of this, or an ongoing campaign, as some groups are wanting to do. When you mark that last box on the sheet that this character is dead, and now you have to create a new character, you've got all of that meta knowledge of the world that you're bringing to the character creation of your new character. And you could pull on some of those threads very easily. Like, oh, what if my character was actually from this place? And that place has like huge implications in our group's story in X, Y, or Z sort of way.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool, like, way to approach character creation, is not just what gives me the good mechanics, but like, how will that alter the actual ongoing story that my group is working towards?
Yeah. And we've also got a system for higher level starts of the game, where it's, you say GM wants to start a campaign at level 5. You would choose 5 little packets of sort of story-based skill ranks, like served in the army. You would get some one-handed, some block, some athletics. Worked in a kitchen, you would get some command, some cooking, some agriculture. All of that sort of stuff. And then also maybe you would unlock the chef career, or you would unlock the sellsword career, or something like that, along with that little packet. So that not every campaign is starting at level 1 with fresh characters you can tell a different story than just that level 1 start.
I like that. I like having those like sort of kind of packaged little, because I've had it too, where like I've had to like manually level a character up, like be like, okay, so if we did skills, and especially in a game like this, and we thought about that, where like you get your XP from doing things, it does make it a little harder to start at level 5 right at the beginning.
Exactly. So it's not quite a life path thing, but it is the idea that you are able to jump into someone's story a little bit later as a character.
You just like filled out the background more. Is a almost yeah. You built a stronger backstory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a mechanical backstory.
Right.
Like if you're starting level 1 as a character who has a mechanically represented backstory. You were born in a place, you were raised away. You're starting with momentum already.
Absolutely.
All right, Ryan, you ready for your favorite segment? Our favorite segment. This is what we call our fanfic section, where we talk about what would happen if we did, for some reason, play this game. How do we think our story would go? I'm curious, like, what a bird blacksmith and a physician and a monster tracker have to do with each other. What are we doing?
How did we become
what are we doing here?
a group of people that actually tolerates one another's company and is working towards similar end goals?
Right, and furthermore, what is that goal that these 3 people would have in common?
Yeah.
I mean, as a GM, I like building sandboxes and then destroying said sandboxes. So I like the idea of like you build a sandbox and then you put a hose at one end and you just turn it on and then that is the campaign.
Yeah. Look at all these moats.
Sort of pose a question to the party and it's how they answer it is what the story is. And I like the idea of, all of our characters are in some way community oriented. A physician, a blacksmith doing things for the community. My guy is a monster hunter. He hunts monsters for the community. Like he doesn't hunt them, for sport or anything like that. It's definitely a civic service. So a threat to a community that they're all part of would be an interesting adventure hook.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel like your character could very easily be sort of like a linchpin between, like, if you're out doing like monster hunting, you obviously need supplies. You can get those from a blacksmith. You need those weapons. Like, you've probably encountered a monster once or twice and need the services of a physician. So that I think easily is enough to like tie those people together just on like a very basic level of like, okay,
how did we all meet?
Right. Well, I mean, and I imagine a blacksmith can probably make some kind of, medical instruments or, could get like the best tweezers in town.
And you know what? Quality of equipment is a thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. No rusty knives over here. Only the best, sharpest knives.
I'm pretty certain that Maximia is also on an alley bat team, like a local alley bat team. Like whoever like what's lower than the minor leagues for like baseball, I guess, is just like a
little league team.
You're
on the local little league team?
Something like that.
Yeah,
like,
it's like the local
right?
like beer league team.
Yeah, like a beer league team. Yeah,
it's like adults who are like much more there for social things than any other actual athletic competition.
We're here to socialize and play the game, and some of us take it more seriously than others.
And we really love to go out for tacos afterwards.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that would be a lot of fun to have that sort of at the very least, if you're fans of the Alley Bat game, or if you want to be participants, I think that would be a cool link as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would not be good at that. Like, I love to be like, my character is like super into this and has a fun time, but like I've looked at my skills. My character does not even have a remote interest in anything athletic. Like, that's, no. But I think more often than not, I feel like maybe I should be there just in case, because I've seen how bad the rest of you are too. And maybe having a doctor present wouldn't be the worst idea.
Yeah.
I'm there out of a sense of community service of like, someone should at least know how to wrap an ankle.
Yeah. And we've talked about how my guy is not like charisma score of 6. He does not have the greatest of people skills. he definitely is on the realm of, we are playing a game. I should try hard at that game.
Right. He's like here to win.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Going for the slide, going for yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're more than happy when it goes into extra innings and everybody's like, can we please just like go get dinner? Like it's
happy hour's ending in 10 minutes.
Well, is that how Flynn blows off steam though? Is with the alley bat?
It might be. Yeah.
Just crack those things towards for home runs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I would like to propose
and definitely night games though.
That there's actually a big cheating scandal higher up in Bar League Alley Bat games.
Oh,
that's good.
And somebody's got to uncover it.
That would be a wonderful campaign. Yes,
with some like underground betting going on.
Underground betting. I think there's corporate funds being put into some of this. You know, like kind of people getting paid to play what should be a bar league kind of sport.
Yeah. Did we find ourselves into an underdog sports movie?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we like the complicating factor on like The Sting, but in a Renaissance universe?
Yeah. Well, because I mean, I imagine that like your character certainly is going to cause problems because you're like way more into it than anybody thought someone at this level should be. So like they really were like, it's really easy for betting circles and, you know, like I imagine there's probably some money laundering going around with like, you know, the betting and the sponsorships and the like, but you're way more into it than anybody should be. And it's messing it up for everybody.
Yeah. Less willing to go along to get along because he just likes playing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, I want this team to win. And they're like, but your team's not supposed to win because it's like a bar, you know, like it's pretty easy to tell like which side of town the good team is going to be from, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or like we're playing against the team that the owners put a lot of money into.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The factory owners put a lot of money into. Yeah.
Exactly. And now it's up to us to bring them down.
I love that.
Yeah.
I also love that like opens up the potential for like potential underground rivalry games where you have to play on the outskirts of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just more dangerous there because of potential monster threats and stuff like that. I think that would add an interesting, tense dynamic.
I also just love the idea of like conspiracies in games because they can be as small or as big as you want, depending on like how long you want this campaign to go on to. Is like, how deep does it go? Like it goes all the way to the top, you know, like, so, I mean, we could potentially just keep uncovering more and more. You know, it starts with like, you know, this team gets to play in the nice park and we're in, you know, the field outside the warehouse. But it can go much further into corporate greed and, you know, espionage.
And government corruption.
Yeah. It can go as high as we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I think we are just the people to figure this out.
I do like that we are the ones that caught wind of the underground nature of this. And we know if we involve anybody else, they're going to be, you know, in a lot of danger.
Right.
We're already in danger with this knowledge, so we might as well be the ones running with it, right?
Yeah. Well, and also, if it goes all the way to a beer league alley bat game, who can you trust?
True.
Right.
True. No one.
Gosh, seriously.
No one. No, and I love the idea of like this starting out as very much like a silly like comedy movie kind of a thing and just getting like darker and grittier the longer we play. That it's like, oh, it started as like a funny like, oh, those losers, they're gonna take down the big corporation. Funny. And then it's like, no, like they're taking out your friends and family and like now we're all the way to like HBO drama level of
Yeah. We start out Days of a League of Their Own, and we end up with like 3 Days of the Condor by the end of it. The man who knew too much.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
But now I want to figure out how my character's like aspirations to be a better blacksmith, and like I meta want her to get into enchanted blacksmithing of sorts, right? With like ritual stuff and whatnot. And I wonder,
Ryan, you think this conspiracy doesn't involve cultists?
That's what I'm saying.
You invited me to your game. There's cultists.
It would unlock a lot of potential for getting into those like underground culty.
I already told
like,
you my character wants to explore that
vibes.
Intersection between life and death and rebirth and
do it.
And they're
also play back alley baseball.
Yeah. The Faith of Fire and Forge is literal magical blacksmiths is in the game. As I mentioned, the undead engineers.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's this fun thing of then as a GM, you get to come up with ways that other skills could be relevant. So like somebody that the party really needs to talk to trust them, well, they need a job done on the side. Like the family heirloom sword is looking mighty bad these days. Oh, maybe somebody could help with that. And I might be a little bit more willing to cooperate.
How do I know that I can trust you? Yeah, for sure. There's always going to be side quests.
Oh, absolutely. Always side quests. Always side quests.
It just turns out that our characters' actual hopes and dreams are side quests to uncovering the sports league corruption.
As long as my character can pick up junky looking weapons and armor and bring them back to her smithing shop and melt them down and scrap them for parts.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. The end goal is to make the greatest alley bat that was ever created. The golden alley bat.
The metal alley bat.
Yeah.
Of eternal
they're made
truth,
of wood.
obviously.
That would be a heck of an invention and a heck of an innovation to bring to the sport.
Yeah.
That's really your ultimate goal.
And it's enchanted to look like wood. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tough part is making it look like wood. So that at first glance you're like, is that what? And
it almost feels like cheating.
Yeah.
But like we have to do it in order to make it to the next part of the tournament so that we can like get in with the people that are really kind of behind this conspiracy.
Ooh, and then there's a whole question of do the ends justify the means? Because if we're cheating at this very serious sport, which is what got us in here in the first place, is the problem that other people were cheating.
Yeah.
There's no rule in the rule book that says you can't use a metal alley bat just because they don't exist yet.
Right.
Airbud our way to victory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the rules do not specifically state that the golden retriever cannot be here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And that's how we've made a very serious game into.
Oh, there are endless avenues for shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, I think that the answer is like in the end, like this is a very serious thing. It's just it seems like the way we stumbled upon the problem was the one stupid place it was happening. You know.
Yes. The one stupid place that inconvenienced our characters that it came up, and then immediately we bulldogged
which means like it's the one place that like the people doing the conspiracy never thought it would like be a problem. They're like, we don't have to be super clean over there. Like those people don't care. It's just
they're just there to play a game.
Right.
Yeah, the beer league alley bat. We don't have to worry about that
Nobody's
much. But
looking for the hands of corporate greed hovering over. Like nobody cares. They just want their t-shirts and then they're a free beer and they're gonna go home. Like no. Nope. Not us.
Oh man, I can see Maximia taking a darker turn too when getting deep into this and like seeing the injustice and kind of breaking from how many tendrils are in society. And now that alley bat is more than just a thing she uses in a game. Yeah.
How many lives have you taken with your alley bat?
I know, right?
How many lives have been destroyed by this horrible game?
Yeah. I feel like Flynn is gonna have a lot of fish out of water moments with that it's like very much keying off of social skills that he's not terribly good at, and it's going to play into his strengths in a bad way.
Yeah.
In that he will see a lot of people at their worst, a lot of people that he's going to be watching out for them doing bad things. So it's going to be when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
Sort of character arc for him.
Yeah, which, I mean, it feels like he was mechanically, certainly built for that with his paranoia that, like, this is, it's like every horrible instinct confirmed. Yeah.
Yes, this is a character that is at their emotional peak as a being, and it's just downhill from here.
Yeah.
I think.
Just further learning you can't trust anyone. Like,
yes, yes, was not primed to trust anyone, and is just having that confirmed. Yeah, this is some negative character arc territory. But the dice could tell a different story. Could get close to a character that like proves Flynn wrong, that like is somebody that he can trust, that he can build a relationship with. I mean,
through the power of friendship, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Ooh, absolutely.
What would the Alibat team name be that we were on the same team?
That's a good point.
Oh.
I mean, usually I think they're like named after like a business or something, right? Like,
yeah. In the industrialized world. So
like what business is supporting this Alibat team?
Oh,
I mean, is our team supported by my family blacksmiths?
Yeah,
that seems like a little bit of favoritism.
The Cardneus something or another's.
What was the name again?
Cardneus is my family name.
Cardneus could lean into Cardinals.
I mean, but also you could work off of like a blacksmithing pun.
Yeah,
it seems more appropriate.
The hammers.
Yeah, I was like just like hard hitters, like.
Yeah.
Or is it just like a really bad pun? Like, is it like a really bad, or is this like a really not cute name? Like, they didn't think about it really hard. They were like,
they were filling it out on the form.
The Cardneus Alley Ball team players.
Yes. They were going for an acronym and they forgot what the acronym spelled.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, you could just go for BAT, and it's just like blacksmithing alley ball team. BAT.
Yeah.
Is it the Alibat BSers?
Yeah.
For blacksmithers?
Yeah.
That's great.
And it becomes a negative association as the campaign goes along.
Yeah. Somebody like really didn't think about how that was going to look shortened in the logo.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is great because like when there's a little scoreboard, it says abs. Alibat BS.
That's true.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, you're losing to abs.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that. ABS,
yeah.
The Alibat Blacksmithers. I like it.
All right.
Amazing. Well, let's get into our final advancement discussion and take it up a level.
Take it up a level. Take it up a level.
So this is the segment I've been referring to over and over again the whole time as we've been talking about leveling up in XP. This is the part where we're going to talk about leveling up in XP. So just in a more like formal, official, one-stop shop kind of situation. How do characters advance in this system? And then like what happens mechanically when you do that?
Yeah. So to start at the beginning of the process, you gain XP by doing checks in skills, and you gain XP in the skill that you use. So for instance, my character's archery is at rank 10. Say I do several checks and I earn 10 XP in archery. I then I rank up archery. I roll a d6 plus my dexterity modifier, which is 1. And then I gain that rank in that skill. And that same number goes to my rank ups for my level. When I get 20 ranks in a level, I gain another level. and I can use the mastery point I gain with that level to gain a mastery from any of the careers that I have unlocked. I have one career for my character at the start of the game. I can unlock any career that I meet the unlock requirements for. The prototypical one that we use as an example is the thief. If you steal enough things, you unlock the thief career. A lot of RPG players unlock the thief career.
What? I'm shocked.
Yeah. And then once that career is unlocked, you can invest your mastery points however you would like to advance within that career. As you level up, also every odd level, you get one attribute point that you can add to any of your attributes.
Oh.
And that is how characters advance in Crucible of Aether. So slowly you can accumulate skills, abilities, and get a little bit stronger, more dexterous, more intelligent as you advance over the course of the game.
Yeah. And I think you said the amount of XP you get on a success varies by how difficult the check is, right?
Yes. Yeah. So for instance, picking a poor quality lock is worth much less XP than picking like the best lock in the world with like 7 tumblers and 3 counter intrusion, whatever. You gain more XP from picking that lock than you do, the lock on a bathroom.
Right.
And then your lock picking skill thus advances more quickly the more difficult things you attempt.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how the narrative.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, but again, much more narrative focused than most games. Because even getting XP like when you complete a mission or, as opposed to just for like things killed or whatever like that, it's still, changes how you spend that XP, where this is like mechanically spent for you in a way, and you are making decisions about what's important to your character based on what you're doing as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how it informs your decisions of like, I think I want to do something cool with stone cutting. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Let me get some tools and try it and see what happens.
Yeah, I am curious. And some of those, like, you talk about checks that have like, like multiple checks along the way, like with crafting and stuff like that. Like, what happens if you do like different kinds of checks to get to that final thing? Like if you're making something that it's like, okay, like this one requires me to find the materials and then to put them together and then to, like, do you do different checks for those things?
Yeah. So it's sort of built into the complexity of the thing. So for instance, making a firearm is an example that I used. I don't know if it would be this episode or a prior one, is one of the most complex things that you can do in the game. And it requires a certain number of accumulated successes that for most characters would take place over the course of an entire session or maybe multiple sessions, that it's like, oh, I've got a little bit of downtime. I'm going to try and tinker away at this thing. And that's where it's abstracting I need to, drill out this barrel. I need to fine tune this spring, or all of those things are a little bit abstracted into the check complexity of requiring the accumulated successes.
Gotcha. Would you be using the same skill each time you rolled those though?
Yes. Yeah. As a GM, I might provide a bonus. Say if you've got a high woodcutting skill and you might get a bonus, a high woodworking skill, you might get a bonus on one of the checks used to make a rifle, for instance, or not a rifle, a musket, because it's like, oh, I'm going to abstract there as a GM that right now you're working on the stock.
Right.
So
got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But by the book, raw, it is a metalworking check to make a firearm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's really cool.
But again,
I like how malleable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just wanted to like see if you can like work in those. Like, I'm good at these other things, and like this may help me be proficient in. But yeah, adding bonuses, I think, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that we encourage in our GM chapter, is to be very flexible about where somebody might get a bonus and to reward the things that they put their time into with bonuses or penalties. Like they might make a negative character choice and be like, I am going to do this thing in this way because it's what my character would do, even though it's not the best most min-max mechanical choice.
Yeah, given the situation that we're in and the time that we have, I would be doing it this way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like my character Flynn might be more likely to resort to fighting, even if it would not be a good choice in that scenario. And it would either make other social checks in this situation more difficult, or it might result in a very difficult combat encounter.
Yeah absolutely.
I mean, I can definitely see my character resorting to punching somebody in the face. Like, now I'm not good at anything combat related. My strength is, my speed, absolutely not. I can't run away from it, so let's get into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Crucible of Aether. This was really fascinating learning about.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, and I love being able to play around with and talk about the system.
Can you remind everyone where they can find you online and the sorts of things are going on, and maybe when to expect the Kickstarter potentially for this?
Where to find all of the good stuff about the game.
Yes, absolutely. So all of the stuff that we've talked about today on the podcast is on our Discord right now. You can find the invitation on any of our socials. We are Aether_Crucible pretty much everywhere except for Bluesky, a little bit different. And we are as of recording, about to submit our Kickstarter page for reviews so that we can get the preview page up. Over the course of while the podcast airs, we may well have it up. And we are also going to be at PAX Unplugged. We are going to have a portion of a booth at PAX this year.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Very nice.
Yeah. Fingers crossed we are going to be repping the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, and we'll keep an eye out too.
We'll have links to that.
Yeah, put the links in the show notes as they become available.
Yes.
This comes out over the course of November.
Yes. We've got a link tree that is going to be house everything, including the Kickstarter, and we'll also obviously have the pre-launch link live when that is ready to go.
It's very exciting.
Absolutely.
Are you getting nervous?
Yeah, getting nervous because it's been a lot of years of doing the behind the scenes work of like writing the game and doing mechanics stuff and rewriting stuff and all of that. And then, the social media build up, doing things like podcasts, all of that. And then we still don't know if it's all
right. Like now this is like, is it going to pay off?
Right.
Like, will everyone love this thing that I've poured my heart and soul into for years? Like,
yeah, exactly. And we still don't know. And we won't know until, we hit the start button.
Right.
And that is harrowing.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to do radical acceptance. We're going to do some deep breathing. Just what will be, will be. It'll be great.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun with this. So I hope that all of our listeners enjoyed it too, and that they will check it out, because it really was like a very good marriage of like the narrative part of games that I love, the crunch that Ryan loves, like like this was like the crunchy peanut butter. It was tasty. It was crunchy. It was so we were filling.
I will absolutely take that comparison.
Yeah.
I
this right
love
here is the crunchy peanut butter of games. You can go ahead and put that quote right on your Kickstarter. You're welcome.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, and I would love for more people to sort of dive in and just explore, what kind of people they can make with this game.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. This was great. And thank you to everyone for tuning in.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that.
All right, another series in the books. This was such a fun game. We had an amazing time with Mike. It was very interesting learning about this game and seeing a game with a lot of crunch being really easy to grok. So really happy we were able to cover this. I am looking forward to the Kickstarter launch. I'm not 100% sure when that will be, but I believe it should be very soon. And so I'm very interested to see what sort of other little goodies will be available for the Kickstarter. But I am very excited to see where it all goes. So Mike, good job on a fun game. and I hope all of you listeners out there enjoyed this series as much as we enjoyed recording it. But before we let you go for the day, we do have some calls to action. First up, this coming Thursday is Thanksgiving here in the US. In the spirit of the season, we wanted to say that we were incredibly thankful for all of you, our listeners. Without your support and enthusiasm for the show, we likely wouldn't have made it almost 7 years, with no plans on stopping anytime soon. We love how our community is so inclusive and helpful with one another, and in order to help that community grow even more, we have added a promotional code to our Patreon for first-time patrons for 20% off the first month by using promo code C3Thanks. That's all one word and the number 3. If you head to our Patreon at patreon.com/charactercreationcast, you'll be able to pick which tier to sign up for at a discount. That means you can get our custom C3 dice and a personalized thank you card for only $4, or 18 different exclusive stickers that were designed by Amelia, as well as the dice and thank you card for only $8. This is on top of everything else the Patreon offers, and once things settle down from the holiday, we'll even be prepping for more bonus episodes and other goodies. And if you join now, you'll be just in time for a holiday surprise that we are planning for the patrons that we have addresses for. So there's plenty to be excited about coming soon. Next up, the Crucible of Aether Kickstarter, like I mentioned just before, is right around the corner. Check out the show notes to find a link to the campaign. We really enjoyed learning about this game, and we hope a lot of folks check it out when it releases. Just another reminder, we have new stickers on the way for our campaign level backers. This is the $10 level of our Patreon, and it nets you every sticker we've exclusively put out for the Patreon, as long as we still have stickers in hand. That means we have 18 stickers right now. If you want to support the show, this is one of the best ways to do so. We even like to thank our current patrons every episode. Your support truly helps out a great deal, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Thank you to DJG, aka Tigranosaurus, Eric Bontz, and Daryl Holiday II. Thank you, Shadimi Cabal, The Shyest Barbarian, and Benjamin Sweeney. Your support brings us so much joy. Rob Fletcher, Kevin Brown, and Tentacle Duck, we appreciate your support. Thank you. Thank you to John Adamus, A3 Sketchpad, and Cole McCallum. Carlos Salazar, Eric S., and Ian Potmeyer, we can't thank you enough, but we'll keep on trying anyway. Thanks to Liam G., Brian Colm, and Garden GM. We are so glad to have you all here with us. Tanglefoot, Blue Kryptonite, and Danny, thank you all so much. Nicole Trainer, Liam Murray, and Kenning, thank you all for your continued support. And Brian Kurtz, Mark E. Fair, and Drew Owen, we appreciate your support as well. Thank you. And thank you to all of our future patrons. We are currently under our operating budget every month between the podcast costs and the Patreon rewards, so we do need your help to get us back to a sustainable level. If you are able to chip in even a little bit, or even just sign up for the free tier to get exclusive updates, that would mean the world to us. Our community is something very special, and the patrons have been a huge part of making that community a beautiful place. So check it out at patreon.com/charactercreationcast, and don't forget the code that we have going right now, C3Thanks, before December 8th. That's all we have for today's episode. Join us next week when we start covering a brand new game for December, Monty Python's co-curricular medieval reenactment program with designer Brian Saliba. But until then, take care everyone, stay safe, drink some water, be thankful for things or people that bring you joy, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Bluesky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Bluesky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Bluesky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.